my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon. This back here, that's Bernard. He's my October co-host. He doesn't say a whole lot, but he's always on time, and I appreciate that. So today I've got a different sort of video to share with you guys. You see, on Friday, for my book talk video, I'm going to be posting my top 5 favorite scary horror books of all time. And in that video, I was going to include The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. It's one of my all-time favorites, and it's such a fun read, and it's so good. It's one of those classic, timeless haunted house stories. Then, a little while ago, I noticed a trailer pop up on YouTube for a The Haunting of Hill House TV series that was coming to Netflix. So I watched the trailer, and if you've read the book, The Haunting of Hill House, or even if you've seen the movies that have been made based on the book, you'll know that as you're watching this trailer, you're wondering, what? What? This isn't The Haunting of Hill House. And because, here's why. The Haunting of Hill House, the book, is about a group of strangers who meet at Hill House, and this group is led by Dr. Montague, who wants to either prove or disprove once and for all that paranormal activity exists. So they go to this house that is crazy haunted, and they spend a bit of time inside it, and what it does to the people inside of the house is very interesting. And watching the trailer for the show, you're like, no, that's not it. The trailer made it look like it was a family who went to live in Hill House, and then it sort of cuts back and forth between the past, when the family's living in the house, and the present, which is what it is. So I was kind of like, I don't know, I do not know about this. But then I heard that Mike Flanagan was at the helm, that he was the creator and the writer and the director, and I love Mike Flanagan. You might not know him by name, but you probably know some of the films he's put out recently. He's done the film Hush. He's also done the Netflix adaptation of Stephen King's book, Gerald's Game. He's done Oculus, and he's going to be doing next year Stephen King's The Shining sequel, which is called Dr. Sleep. And I love him. Mike Flanagan is fantastic. What I love about Mike's horror films is he doesn't rely on cheap jump scares. There's no gore, there's no torture. It's never that kind of film, which is really refreshing, because it seems like for a while that's where horror kind of parked itself, in that how many jump scares and just ridiculousness can I jam into a 2-hour period where there wasn't really much of a story, there wasn't really any heart. Whereas when Mike Flanagan makes the films, the scares are more intense because they're more subtle. And there's always a ton of heart. So when I saw it was Mike Flanagan who was making this show, I was kind of like, okay, I'll wait and see. You guys, the show came out Friday night, like I said. I watched it as quickly as possible. Like, I couldn't stop watching it. It was so good. It hooked me in the first episode, and when I wasn't watching the show, I was thinking about the show. So what I can say is, I'm really going to try to not put too many spoilers in here. You know, I won't give away the ending or any big major spoilers, but we're going to be talking about the whole series, so there may be some spoiler type things in here, but it's nothing that will ruin your enjoyment of the show. We'll put it like that. So if you're a big fan of Shirley Jackson and the Haunting of Hill House book, you're going to come into this series and you're going to right away know that this is not the same story. What they've done here is they've taken elements of the story, and then Mike Flanagan grabbed those elements and he ran with them and did completely his own entire thing. If you're familiar with the story, there'll be bits and pieces where you'll be like, oh my god, yes. Like, one of the main characters goes to see a psychiatrist, and that doctor's name is Dr. Montague. The siblings. So the family that this series is about, there's 5 siblings, 2 boys, 3 girls, and then their parents. And one of the siblings' name is Shirley, as a nod, I'm sure, to Shirley Jackson. But then the others are named Eleanor, Luke, Theodora, and Stephen. And a lot of those names will be very familiar to you if you're familiar with the book, because the people who went into Hill House with the doctor had those names. So there's all these tie-ins to the original story, but it's completely different. The really funny thing is, today I was coming here to film a anti-haul video because that's what I had planned. But then last night I finally finished the show, and all I want to do is talk about it. So, let's talk about it. So Hill House comes into this family's life because one of the things the parents do is they purchase homes and they flip them. And this is all kind of leading up to when they finally make enough money that they can build their forever home and settle down. And you know, that's the end game in mind for this family. So they buy Hill House with the plan of fixing it up and flipping it over the summer while the kids are off school. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so it works perfect. You know, they got this big house, lots of grounds where the kids can run and play and have fun and just be kids, and it seems like the perfect scenario for this family. But quickly things get really unsettling inside the house. The mom's really affected. The one of the younger daughters is really affected. Her name is Nell, short for Eleanor, and she's really affected by it. And she starts, I think the first night in the house, she starts having visions, a very scary figure of a woman who she calls the bend neck lady keeps appearing to her, and it's just terrifying to her. So we get to know these kids and this family, and one thing I have to say, the casting of this movie is out of this world. First of all, not only are they fantastic actors, and they all are, and you'll see a lot of familiar faces in there, but they look like a family. And the dad, the man who plays the dad in the past, and the man who plays the dad in the future, okay, the one who plays the dad in the past, he's the kid from E.T. I can't remember his name, but I'll insert it here now. Hi guys, it's Shannon from the future here. His name is Henry Thomas. And then the guy who plays the dad in the present or the future is Timothy Hutton. And they look like the same person. And like, even though going into it, I knew that that was the kid from E.T. and I knew that that was Timothy Hutton. At one point I said to my husband, I said, are they aging him up? Or are they making him look younger? And he's like, that's 2 different people. And I was like, oh my god, of course it is. I knew that. But like, they look so similar and you get so into it that I forgot. But yeah, these people just look like they could be a family. The sisters all look very much alike, especially the 2 older sisters. The people who play the twins, like, they could be twins. They have a very similar look to them. And it's just like, how you find all those people? It's fantastic. So then as we're moving into the present day, we get to see the family now. And they're really all kind of estranged. Well, not estranged, that's not the right word. But they've really, really grown apart. And, you know, you can see one of the siblings, Nell, the youngest girl, she's calling all of her siblings. And she's trying to get a hold of them. And they're just they're ignoring the call. You know, they just drifted apart because of all of the things that happened inside the house. And one of the things that we get right from the get-go is that the mom never left the house. She died there. Then when we visit the family in the future, or in the present, however you want to word it, there's a lot of animosity between the siblings and the dad, especially the oldest son. And he's very angry with his dad, and he's angry that, from his point of view, he's the eldest in a family full of mental illness. His mom had it, his sister has it, his brother has it. Like, he's so frustrated that so often the supernatural gets brought into the conversation when talking about his mom, or, you know, his brother's heroin addiction, or his sister's mental illness. He gets really frustrated that the paranormal's brought into it. But the dad remains steadfast that it's the house. It's the house. Like, on paper it says the mom committed suicide. But he says, the dad remains steadfast that no, she didn't. The house killed her. And the story, throughout the 10 hours that we have, or that Mike Flanagan has to tell this story, is utilized so well. And it flies by like it was a 2-hour movie. But one thing Flanagan is really good at is developing characters and making you care for them. And, you know, a 2-hour film versus 10 hours of television, he's given so much more room to do that. And it's like, if you've seen his films and you think he's great as a film director, just you wait until you see what he does with a full series of television. If you're someone that's a little leery of horror, if you don't like those jump scares, if you don't like those feelings of fright, there's not too many of them in this, honestly. There are a few, I won't lie to you. There are some moments where you get that jump scare, but it's only like, I'd say 5 or 6 throughout the whole 10 hours, you know? The rest of the horror is very slow burning. It's very subtle. It's done in such a way that you know something scary is about to happen, so you're ready for it. And I appreciate that. When I was young, I might have liked those jump scares. I'm 37 now. I don't need that in my life. I like a slower, more subtle scare. And Mike Flanagan delivers it every single time. And if you love The Haunting of Hill House and you're worried that this is going to, you know, not do it justice, I felt the same way before I started watching, and let me tell you, you don't have to worry about it. It's different, but it's so good. It's so good. And you don't have to be afraid. The story too, as we near the end, once we know fully these characters, and you do get to know them all very fully because pretty much every character has an episode dedicated to their perspective of the story, their perspective of what happened inside that house. Because, you know, they're all off in the house doing their own thing. A lot of the times they're not together. So we get to see what happened to them inside the house. We get to see what is just driving their mother insane. We get to see the things that they saw as impressionable children that have made them the way they are today as kind of messed up adults. And you care so much about each and every one of them that it breaks your heart. Especially like the storyline with Luke. He's the youngest boy and he's the one who develops the heroin addiction. It was so sad. It was so sad. All of it was so sad. And then the mom, what happens to the mom in the house that leads her to not leaving the house is so sad because it's not her. You know, she does some really horrible things, but that's not her doing them. It's the influence of the house. And It's just, it's an absolute masterpiece. The whole thing. I could talk about it. I could just talk about it for days. But I won't do that. I wholeheartedly recommend it. 2 thumbs up, 5 stars, all the yays. It was just so good. If you've watched it, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it. And again, if you're a little leery of horror, don't be of this. Give it a try. You know, by the end, I was crying. Just crying and crying and crying. It's so emotional. I saw somebody in reviews say it's kind of the This Is Us of horror, which is actually pretty accurate. You've got the time frames, the past and the present, and then you've got the siblings, and then you've got just all the feelings, and pretty accurate. Just any and all thoughts on the show or the book or anything, I'd love to hear them. And I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and I will see you on Friday with those top 5 spooky books. Bye, guys.